as you guys know, with sports gambling becoming prominent in this country, and as you guys know, I'm guilty of this as well. My own state of Ohio has had sports gambling legal since January 1st of 2023. Even before that, though, before I was even allowed to gamble legally, I would not gamble, but I would take a look at the lines of the NFL games, and I would do my best bets on the show. That was about a year before it became legal. And then last year, I had mentioned I put a $5 parlay on five teams each week, one parlay in the National Football League season. In the offseason, the NFL, I gamble a little bit, in Major League Baseball, a little bit in the NBA, a little bit of March Madness here and there, but not a ton. But as we all predicted, as gambling has become a massive part of not only our lives, but in sports broadcasters' lives, there was going to be a massive scandal in the next few years when it came to one major league sport or maybe all sports when it came to gambling. So when it comes to this Shohei Ohtani situation and this player Porter, obviously, that currently plays for the Toronto Raptors. Now, they're two very different situations, but I do think they tie in together. That again, Ohtani, Porter, they are not the only two players I'm sure involved in gambling. I'm sure more scandals will be coming out during the past few years. But I want to focus on Ohtani because obviously he's a major star. He's the face of baseball. He is arguably next to the New York Yankees on the biggest face in terms of team in all of baseball in the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is a unicorn at what he does. Not only is he a great hitter, but he's a Cy Young phenom type pitcher when he's healthy. But the fact that his former interpreter or him was allegedly involved in a betting scandal, and this is my take on the whole thing, that I do think that the story here for Ohtani needs to stay straight because there are multiple times that Ohtani has sort of spun different stories. One of the stories was that his former interpreter got money stolen from him, and that the interpreter stole money from Ohtani, and Ohtani knew nothing about the situation. And the other story was essentially that Ohtani's interpreter asked him to get him out of some wages, and Ohtani lended money to him because there is a report out there that was reported by multiple journalists out there that Shohei Ohtani did transfer money from his bank account to the interpreters. So I think the fact that Ohtani, for the most part, they have not got their story 100% straight and accurate worries me. This is what I do believe when it comes to pro athletes and gambling. Number one, if you gamble on your sport, I personally think you should be banned from that sport for life. I think it ruins the integrity of competitiveness of you playing in your own sport. So if it comes out that Ohtani himself gambled on Major League Baseball, which again, I think that this is going to be a long drawn out process. Ohtani will essentially become the next Pete Rose of baseball. He will be kicked out of Major League Baseball forever. The problem is going to occur if Ohtani's interpreter betted on baseball, because maybe Shohei Ohtani did not have anything to do with it. But what if that interpreter betted on the Angels to lose when Ohtani and Mike Trout were injured? For example, he has close connections with Ohtani. Maybe Ohtani told him to do that gambling. And even though the interpreter would do it on his own account so that it would not be Ohtani, if it comes out Ohtani was making suggestions to him or things like that because the interpreter was around the team, that's also a huge issue. But if Shohei Ohtani did not bet on baseball, if he bet on football, if he bet on hockey, if he bet on any other sport, I'm perfectly okay with it. He should not get any punishment. I think for right now, the Major League Baseball is doing their investigation. I think they made the right decision at this point to not suspend Ohtani because it would be unfair. If we're punishing a guy that absolutely did nothing wrong, and obviously, from the same token, it would be completely unjust if he was not punished if he did do something wrong. So this is just a waiting game. Again, Ohtani, Porter from the Raptors, we are going to see so many more betting scandals like this come up in this country. And it is another reminder, as I've said in some pre-recorded interviews, before this news sort of broke late last week here on the Branch World podcast. We've gone through the buy, sell, or hold with Jalen, my interview with Andy Z. When you bet, and I have said this, and again, I am an advocate of sports gambling. If this podcast was big enough, I would love to get a sponsorship with FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, ESPN Bet, whichever betting app would have me. I mostly just use FanDuel for now because I find it easier to track all your bets on one app, and I personally find FanDuel the easiest to use for myself, and I think their odds are actually really good. Uh, but you guys know I think that people in this world should be held responsible for their own actions. And I think if you make your own money or if you make money regardless, you should have the ability to decide what to do with it. And if you want to gamble away a couple bucks on a sports game, go ahead. But never be prepared to gamble on stuff that you are not prepared to lose. Always have a plan, gamble responsibly, and always wager the right amount for you. If $1,000 is the right amount for you, go right ahead. If 2 million is the right amount for you, go right ahead. If 50 cents is the right amount for you, go right ahead. No one should ever make fun out of you for the amount of money you put down on your bet. That's your responsibility. To me, NBA players should be allowed to bet on Major League Baseball, college football, MLB players should be able to bet on other sports, NFL players, all they want. But the only thing you cannot do, don't use an illegal party like Bovada, other things like that, etc. And do not, absolutely, if you are a athlete of any kind, do not bet on your own sport. Like that clip from the Branch World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Branch World podcast right here on YouTube.